Good morning, Warriors. Hope you guys are doing well today. We had another episode of our Vigor Warriors 2 and our 1% Club. Great to have you with us today. We're going to talk a little bit about a verse in the Bible that I read in Leviticus 15 about discharge, which relates obviously to what we're talking about. But first, thank you for all your comments, likes. I'm going to try to respond to each one if I can. If I can't do it by text, I do it in the video and recognize you. So Timboplus, thank you so much for your comment. It means a lot to me to be able to say that you guys are getting something out of this. Alvin, as always, thank you for your comments. I appreciate those as well. And Thiago, new subscriber, so thank you for that as well. And HK, I don't know who Iceman is, but I'm going to try to look him up and make comments. So if you want to get a comment from him, I'm supposing he's a very good person when it comes to all this stuff. So good for that. Curvy Shine, I'm going to go ahead and get back to you on yours as well. You have made some nice comments and interesting comments. I hope you're feeling better, and I think you make some good comments on retention. It is not easy. I'm at 763 days, I believe it is, with the NoFap, but I just restarted my monk mode, and I'll talk about that in a second. I think I'm day number 2 now. And then Marc had a great set of comments as well, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of focus on those a little bit today as I do this, but I'll probably go back to a lot of those type of discussions because you guys all make very good points, especially the ones with Curvy and Marc. You guys did a great job of kind of bringing some stuff out that we probably need to talk about in separate things. But in this one, I'm going to talk about Leviticus and why monk mode is really the way to go. And I'm obviously in day 2 now again because I had 250 some days, and that's my record right now. But I'm going to go back to doing it again and again. It's a lifestyle change. You're going to get caught. And I got caught thinking about something that I shouldn't have, and I recognized that was against monk mode, and those type of things, happen. But you recognize them, and I think the good thing is I recognize it, and obviously it didn't lead to any kind of, discharge or anything like that, or that's what the Bible talks about, or the loss of energy and things like that. So let's go ahead and talk about all this a little bit. And I'm going to bring up a little bit of examples with both Marc and Curvy, who kind of brought these things up as well. This is, guys, this battle, this is why we are the 1% Club. And I think we're moving more closer to 2% because I see a lot of people talking about this stuff. And I think that, there's more people who recognize the benefits. And we've kind of talked about that as we go on. But this is not an easy thing. And this is why you have to be tough on yourself, like I said yesterday, and recognize, okay, well, I did make a mistake. I relapsed, or, I broke monk mode. And whether it was conscious, unconscious, it's something I just got to continue doing. But if you take it as a lifestyle change, and I think we've had people say this, I don't know if it's Alvin, a number of people in the past, if it's a lifestyle change, then it's a different type of way to approach this. You're not looking at this as saying, oh my God, I'm bad, or I'm failure, or things like that. These things happen. Just remember that this battling you're doing, this battle is you're 1% of the warriors out there. Most people don't even give a care about this, or they're so brainwashed by this that they don't see any kind of problem with doing it in this periods of time. And obviously this is something that has been written for thousands of years, as I'll demonstrate in a couple minutes here, but it's been written for thousands of years. And it's not easy. I mean, Marc makes some very good points when it talks about trying to stay on your on your journey, and the fact that sometimes people will be intimidated by you, which is very true, because you have that power. You have the superpower. I mean, you're an awesome, unbelievable warrior, and because of that, people will be jealous. Sometimes women will gaze at you. Sometimes they'll just, dismiss you, because the energy you have will polarize people. A lot of people I see are very receptive to it, especially feminine energy women. But once again, you have a lot of different types of people in this world nowadays, and we see a lot of strange behaviors. But it's not all that strange, because they were all present back in biblical times and all these years on. And human nature is human nature. They're going to think that they're progressive and they're ahead of everybody else, but they're really not. I mean, this has all happened before, and we could talk about it, because you can look at the Bible as an indication of those type of things. And none of these things are any different than they were years ago, except the technology and the things around it. But human nature is the same, and human nature will always be the same, because God created us. And you can try to put AIs together, you can try to put all this other kind of stuff together and try to confuse it, but really the bottom line is that people are people, and that's going to happen. I think it was the name of a song at one time back in the 1980s or something like that. People are people. So I think that the key is to kind of realize that what you should be doing is focusing on your goals and focusing on making yourself the best person you can become. Now, by nature, you're going to get a lot of attraction that way. But again, concentrate on the idea that you're going to become the best person you can become. And if you do that, then you're not going to have issues with this other stuff. Now, once again, I myself got caught, in a thought pattern that I should have been caught into, and thinking about that. And so I broke my monk mode. But at least I recognize it. So I'm moving back into the patterns I should be. But the key is going to be to refocus. And as soon as I saw myself doing that, I obviously moved into a different direction and went back on doing things and achieving goals. I'm working on my house and teaching, consulting, all kinds of stuff like that. And so I'm doing those type of things where I'm focusing on other things. And I think that's the only key you can really do to kind of keep your mind off of it. But if we go to the Bible and we talk about chapter in Leviticus in the Old Testament, and you're looking at chapter 15, and if you look at the story of Leviticus and chapter 15, it talks a lot about the idea of discharge. Well, obviously what discharge is just another term of using energy. And when you talk about that kind of discharge, you're talking about something that we talk about all the time. The idea that you're exerting energy out. Now, this was how many years ago? Many, many years ago. Jesus lived in the early, obviously before Christ, after Christ. But this was a long time ago, right? And they're talking about discharge back then. And in fact, the statement that is in the Bible talks about that you are unclean if you are discharging. In fact, the bed is unclean. Everybody is unclean. The people you touch are unclean. And in fact, even if you allow this discharge to move up and it's not actually discharging, you're still unclean. And that's the point why monk mode becomes important. And so, you can see all these things, and I understand what people are doing when they do things like edging, and they try to do these orgasms and things like that outside of the, without releasing. And I think it's a process for many of us, because we've been so brainwashed. We've been at the point where, you're been told over and over again, for health reasons, for other reasons, that you need to release all the time. But if you look at the Bible, it talks about the fact that you should not be discharging at all. And in fact, you should not be thinking about discharging. And the more you can do that, the closer you're going to get to God. And this is why, I'm striving for 12 years and a long time in monk mode. Obviously, I've lost 2 years. I'm 2 years ahead when it comes to nofap than monk mode, because I'm starting again. But the idea is that you have to get to the point where, God is number one in your life. And I think that's something that's a challenge to me. I've lived 61 years and I'm still battling this one. But the idea that you really want to do is you want to realize that even the thought of it is making you unclean. Now, obviously, if you're procreating and having a child, you're going to afford that uncleanness because God wants you to procreate. And obviously if you pray to him and ask for forgiveness, I don't think that's a problem at all. But that's why I'm very strict when it comes back to this whole idea of monk mode and procreation and things like that. Now, I think certainly, so the whole idea then is when you talk about this, if you're talking about having intercourse, the fact that you're excited about this and doing this is probably a good argument to say, okay, no, you should not be doing this. I know that's going to disappoint a lot of people. But I think the thing is you have to think about the long-term effects of this. Now, just like in that book by Kendler that I've been talking about all this time, with the Fountain of Youth, he talked about the fact that in order to really be a superhuman, you got to take this sixth exercise, which includes the brahmacharya, celibacy, retention, things like that, and you got to transmute it. That's basically the sixth exercise. I mean, you're standing up and you're breathing up and you're giving the energy level to go up. Now, you have to have some level of excitement to be able to use that energy. However, you have to be able to transmute that. Now, you're able to transmute that because all of a sudden your thoughts change and you shift. This is what happens as you progress more on your plan. You're able to catch these type of things and move them up more and be able to transmute that energy to a higher level where now you're not being affected as much by this. And that's such a key type of thing when it comes to focusing on this. Looking at the whole idea of being able to focus on the things you need to focus on and not focus on other things around you. This is a key. And the focus comes from the fact that you're shifting the ability to be able to get away from the temptation, get away from the birds and flying over your head and moving forward. But realizing that any sort of thoughts and ideas in that manner is leading you down the wrong path. Now, of course, we're not perfect. I mean, we're not like Jesus. We're not like God is. We can't just go ahead and totally ignore all those things, especially if you're myself and had a lot of years of, focusing on this as an important type of thing to be a man, so-called man that you're trying to be. This is very important to let your energy go. Well, I've learned the hard way that it's actually the opposite. And I feel like more of a man now the last couple of years than I ever felt. And, like I said, I remember a time when I was a kid that I felt some of this. I had no clue what that meant when I was 11, 12 years old. But I certainly know the difference between all these years later, and focusing on this. So I think that knowing the difference is important and seeing the difference. But the key, my friends, is realizing that the Bible verse. When you're talking about discharging, you're talking about losing energy. You become unclean. Now, what does unclean mean? Well, obviously, it doesn't mean you're being supported. God is not happy. Obviously, I guess that's the best way to put it. And you need to get unclean. So they take a bath, do these other types of things, and it takes you 7 days. Now, I don't know, I have to do some research on how literal that is, but I think certainly, it takes time to rebuild your energy. Now, obviously, if you're getting at the point where you're excited but you're not releasing, well, that may be a different type. It may not be. You may not take as long. I don't know that because I've not kind of read that into the Bible. And I don't want to read stuff into the Bible, but the bottom line really is that once again, that's talking about that you're unclean as well, and you're unclean because of the thoughts you're having. It's really the thoughts that get you. That's what starts the whole process. It's the thoughts that you're dealing with first. And those thoughts are the ones that are gonna hurt you and lead you down the wrong road. And so this whole thing is to try to better yourself when it comes to being disciplined, being strong, being focused on the things you're trying to achieve, and not being distracted. And like I said, summer and spring are really the worst times because the attraction is there. And we go back to this thing, and I know that one of the viewers, and I'm trying to remember which one it is, and I'll get back to it. But talking about Jordan Peterson a lot, and I do like Jordan Peterson. I think he has a lot of good statements, and we talked about the one the other day talking about Beauty and the Beast. And the fact is that, and I think that I've heard females tell me that's actually true. That you're really kind of focusing on males being the beast and the females trying to go ahead and tame the beast. And so really what you look at is the whole idea that most men, if you're walking like in the middle of winter time, will not even notice the idea of women walking across unless you're talking about the summertime or the spring. And that's because obviously the clothes are tighter and the attention that females get based on this. And obviously, if you talk to a lot of females, attention is very important. Well, attention is important because it kind of sucks you in. We talk about this energy vampire type of thing. And, most of it is unconscious, subconscious type of thing. But the thing is, you realize that a lot of males don't go around unless they have a high ego or something, they need approval. They don't really focus on showing off themselves. Now you see more of it nowadays than you used to, but a lot of it really is that the energy, the masculine energy, is all the male needs, and that's why males, they can procreate up to you're 90, 100 years old because they have that testosterone, unless they blew it all when they were younger, and this is why they have this dysfunction, in my opinion. A lot of the stuff that goes on. But that's why males can procreate, for many, many years to come. And I think this is the whole thing. Now, obviously, people will get, operations and things like that, which is, totally against, I think, what God intended. I mean, if you can't use self-control, then you're basically kind of taking no responsibility for your actions. And so that's a whole nother type of issue we could talk about. But the idea then you really want to do is kind of focus on the fact that you have to be responsible for you, at least, and your relationship with God. And that's the most important thing. Everything else will flow from that. But what you got to do is make yourself as clean and pure as possible. And this is why they say that if you're discharging, you're not clean. Clean is something where your communication is strong with the Lord and there is no blockage. That's the best way that I can put it from my perspective, right? And so if you're blocking it because you have anger, feels, jealousy, but you also have this type of energy and this type of thought pattern, then you're blocking God from you. And you have to make sure you try to get yourself as pure as possible. Is easy? No. The evil one's always around. Like I said, all you got to do in the summertime here is just walk around. And you'll see lots of temptation, both from males and females. And you'll just, it is very difficult to stop that. And that's why I got caught last week, with that type of monk mode. So you have to just keep going and realizing that and just trying to keep your mind focused as much as you can on your goals. All right, my friends. Well, this is Friday and July 8th, I believe it is, 2022. Hope you guys have a great weekend. I get a chance, I will do this one on the Fountain of Youth. I want to go through the exercises, but I've got to be in a place where I can actually kind of do the exercises, and I'm looking to do that too. So, and I'm still working on streaming and things like that, but I'm just kind of wrapped up with a bunch of house projects and working on the house and trying to also work this summer and different types of things as well. So God bless you guys, every one of you. Hope you guys have a great weekend. If I don't talk with you, we'll talk again Monday morning. God bless you. And the main thing is battle on and never give up. Goodbye, guys. Take care.